our NBA guru. Conversations with Gordie brought to you by our good friends at Aladdin Industries, your Utah Velux dealer. Utah Jazz in action tonight against the Fighting Cooper Flaggs of Dallas. Mavericks coming in for a 7 p.m. tip. Tickets are available as low as $13. I love that tracker on ESPN. Gordie Chiesa, welcome in. How are you, sir?
Sean, I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Let's start there. Dallas visiting Utah. I think everyone's mostly over the fact that you didn't get the star rookie that Dallas now has, but a chance to see him up close and personal, his team up close and personal.
Oh, very much. Cooper Flagg is going to be the Rookie of the Year with his former college teammate Con Knippel finishing second, and VJ Edgecombe should be third, and he is all advertised, and he's tremendous, unbelievable, talented guy. He's a generational ability, and what I love about him is that he's a two-way player. He plays both offense and defense. In transition, he's sensational with those long strides. He's got those ball skills, and what he does best is that he's able to play up in the air and be acrobatic, but to be under control and make a lot of really interesting, simple plays. And if I'm the Dallas Mavericks, he is absolutely the future. Here's some quick metrics with him. He's averaging 18.9 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 4.2 assists, 1.2 blocks, shooting 47.8 from the field goal. But here's the one nemesis, Sean. He's only shooting 27.6 from threes. And so he's got to improve that. And he's a dynamic driver, velocity cutter, and most of all, Sean, he's a nasty dunker. Nasty.
We see these young guys come in, and obviously that's a big part of your game when you're young and you can elevate and you have a little bit of size. Later on in the career, and there's plenty of time between now and then for Cooper Flagg, later on in the career you can't play that elevated game and you have to adjust. Is he going to have to adjust, or is he already there?
He'll have to adjust. No, right now, let's not forget, he's only 19 years old. And him, the world is perfect. You know, the world's my oyster, to say the least. And that he's going to be able to be a high flyer for a long, long time, minus, God forbid, some serious injury. And over the period of time, he'll adjust like all the great leapers that are scorers and throughout their career. So Michael Jordan adjusted at age, we'll say, 30-something, and Kobe Bryant adjusted also at age 30-something, where they played. They still went airborne when they had to, but most of the time they were able to play the game. I call it gravity scoring, and he'll be good at it. But in the meantime, right now, Cooper Flagg is sensational. The Jazz beat for a reference point, the Jazz did beat the Mavericks the first time this year. That was a hellacious game back on recently on December 15th. The Jazz beat the Mavericks 140-133 in overtime, where Keontae George was sensational, and so was Larry Markkanen. And so it should be a great game tonight. Both teams are struggling, which is positive, and the Dallas Mavericks are, their record is 14-23 and 4-12 at home. Excuse me, on the road. And so the Jazz are coming off a tough loss last night in OKC. They probably got home last night around roughly 3 o'clock in the morning. So they'll be a little bit slow to start the game. The Mavericks were here last night, staying in the hotel. They'll be ready to roll.
SGA, by the way, in that one, 46 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. The defending MVP, not slowing down a lot this year. And it's not that the Jazz stars played bad, but you just can't keep up with somebody like that on a night like that.
Oh, very much. He was absolutely sensational. He was the reason why that the Thunder were able to hold off the Utah Jazz. And let's not forget, Sean, besides those 46 points and 42 minutes, he had no turnovers. So, Sean, the main guy everyone's trying to stop in the game. He has the pressure to make plays all the time. He makes no mental errors or physical errors. It was a brilliant performance, and that's why they're able to hold off the Jazz. Unfortunately for the Jazz, they played hard. They played connected, and they really took it right to the Thunder. And there's been so much talk about the Thunder that they're a dynasty. The wild worded to you that they're an elite team and could be NBA champions, but they're not a dynasty because it's so hard in this era because of these luxury tax and re-signing guys, and also the other guys are good. So remember now, the Thunder started out 24-1 this year. And that's what everybody's saying. Oh, they're a dynasty. They're going to be absolutely incredible.
What are we doing throwing that term around so easily? You win one championship and start a good regular season strong. Now you're a dynasty?
That's what happens. Again, it's social media, etc. So since then, they've been 7-6.
Yeah.
Including last night's game where if Wood should, again, if Shea doesn't make that jump shot against good defense by Keontae George with that body lean / talent, then the Jazz win, and then we're going to say, oh, by the way, the Thunder have a losing record the last 13 games.
So, I mean, look, if you're Oklahoma City, you can't enjoy the idea that you went even into overtime. Yes, a victory, but you went into overtime against a Jazz team that is not supposed to be trying to win that much this year. And give me I know that for the Utah Jazz, it ends up being a loss, another learning opportunity. The silver lining in all these losses is you keep certain draft picks in your pocket, et cetera, et cetera. But give me the opposite perspective. OKC is a contending team. They could repeat as champions. They've got the MVP. You don't want to play extra basketball against a young team like this. Am I right?
Correct. You're exactly right. And so with that said, that the Jazz were highly motivated and bouncy, to say the least, and the Thunder, they were playing like it's middle of March where let's get to the playoffs. Again, for the last 13 games. And it's new to them where suddenly everyone's coming at them with their A game. Before that, there were the team that was going after the opposition as far as trying to bite, fight, and claw to show that, hey guys, we can play right now. So now they're the ones that everybody is bringing all their things. So, for example, last night, the Jazz punched the Thunder in the face on the boards. 65 rebounds to 51. And that's led by the guy that we all love to always talk about, Yusuf Nurkic, the Bosnian beast, threw his body around the lane the whole time. He was hitting people. He started hitting everybody, including people in the front row, to start. And that's his game. You got to love him, the way he plays, and that he helps the Jazz. I call it, Sean, chaos in the lane. He fouls his own teammates sometimes, as far as going for the ball. But with that said, he scored 15 points and 15 rebounds, and until he got in foul trouble, that he did a good job of taking some of the play of Chet Holmgren. Yeah, Holmgren scored 23 points. I get it, but he goes after that. He was in foul trouble, and he already fouled out with 6 fouls. And with Yusuf Nurkic, let's say, Sean, he gets all worth his 6 fouls are all worthy. Is that it's not like a cheap foul. He's fouling you like to stop 2 points.
If you were coaching Chet Holmgren, would you still try to put more weight on that guy, or are we just accepting the fact that he's a slim reaper for the rest of his career?
I think he's a slim reaper the rest of his career, yeah. I mean, you're going to try to make him stronger as far as in his leg strength, but upper body, he's tall and slender, and he's agile. And so it's hard to do that. Some people are like that. And, again, I'm not a scientist or a doctor or a dietitian. I'm assuming that he's got a really a fun problem. Eats a lot of things and never gains weight.
Yeah.
That's a fun problem.
I wish I had that problem.
And that was Thurl Bailey. When we coach at Thurl Bailey, think about Thurl Bailey, even now at age 60, let me see, Thurl was born in 61. Okay, Thurl right now is 64 years young. His body's slender. And we used to say to Thurl, keep eating all these calories. It didn't matter. His body fat was like, I'm not exaggerating, like a 1%.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he still looks great.
He looks great. No, so that's Chet Holmgren. Again, I'm not a nutritionist, so if I'm talking out of school, please, I'm going to stop. But just generally speaking, as a layman, that's what happens. But he's skilled. So what happens with Chet Holmgren type? Don't put him in positions where he has to show his lack of physicality. Put him in a position on the court where he can show his skill set of going around somebody up and over. Now, Yusuf Nurkic, he's not going to cooperate. He's going to try to make him have to have his lack of strength to play against Jokic in the lane, and he did most of the game, but then Jokic fouled out, and then Chen was able to roam the baseline free. And by the Jazz playing switch defense, Holmgren had an advantageous situation where they're asking Brent Sassuba to put a body on Chet Holmgren, where it's a length situation, and length beats what? Lack of or just moderate strength.
Gordie Chiesa is our guest here in studio. We've got him for another 45 minutes or so. Before we take a break, you and I have talked about this a lot when we're talking about a young Jazz team that is, they're in the situation they're in. There's not an expected playoff run. There's some portion of the fan base and maybe even the front office that wants to preserve draft picks and stuff. But these games, like the one tonight, you're going against another team that's kind of in that similar situation. They're building back. It's going to take a couple years for them. I don't know if the right way to say it is that they're on your level, but these games we've talked about being more important than when you're going up against OKC. As important as that is to test yourself against the best in the league, you learn a lot more when you're going up against someone who's on your same level. Are you progressing as fast as they're progressing? If they're going to be good in 3 years, can you stay ahead of that pace, et cetera? So how does the Jazz prove tonight that they're in the right spot there?
One, by respecting your opponent. The Jazz get in trouble, just generally speaking, early in the game when they usually are down, unfortunately. So they've got to start out with a much higher urgency rate as far as guarding. So the question is always, I always talk about this, Sean, is that Cooper Flagg is going to be in the Western Conference for over the next, hopefully, in their world, 15 years. So, which means that the Jazz have to find somebody to be able to defend him and slow him down. So last game he scored against the Jazz 42 points. And so they need someone like, say, Filipowski-type people to try to get in that game, and their sole purpose is to what? Stay in front of him and make him shoot a tough shot over them. So these games do matter. And also just as a standpoint right now, in the present tense today, Jazz have lost 5 games in a row. So, Sean, that's an awful feeling. You lose 5 games in a row. You lose in overtime last night. You get to your house at 3 o'clock this morning. It was a little bit of snow. Wherever you live right now, there's some snow. And by the way, I'm back at the arena by 4:45 today to play another game. And so if we're going to be tired, let's be tired of what? Losing. I'm tired of losing. Sean, I lived that life for 36 years. And so I know what it's like, you're not sure what day it is right now. Oh, we're playing the Mavs tonight. Okay, let's win.
And then after the Mavs this weekend, you've got the Charlotte Hornets.
Right, another young team that's trying to be like the Jazz. So it's good. The Jazz have back-to-back games where players are going to challenge them, and the Jazz have good players also. Keontae George is going to get votes as some of the most improved players in the NBA. And so what they want to do is be the aggressor early, take the play right to them, and then defensively really try to lock down. Last point about this, quickly, is that they lost last night in overtime, Sean. They committed 20 turnovers. Just think about it. It'd be like in the NFL, Sean, having 3 interceptions and 2 fumbles in the red zone.
Yeah,
so
you're not going to win that game.
You're not going to win, even though you do play hard. And there's a lot of good things happening during the game. So you've got to not turn that ball over. You can't set illegal screens. You can't have offensive elbow fouls in the guy's face. It's a foul. And so those are the things why lesser teams lose, because they beat themselves.
All right, like I said, we got Gordie for plenty of time today. We'll take a quick one here. We'll come back. We'll zoom out a little bit, not just talking about the Jazz, but everything that's going on in the NBA. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Gordie Chiesa is here in studio with us, brought to you by Aladdin Industries, your Utah Velux dealer. And, look, we're going to jump back into the NBA, I promise. We got a short segment here, and Gordie, when we went to break, he said we have to talk about the stinking Jets. Gordie's a Jets fan. A curse that has followed you for decades now, Gordie.
60 years. I'm 75, so Sean, maybe earlier.
Well,
60,
you would think
60-something years.
You would think in those 6 decades that you had seen everything, that you had already experienced all the highs and the lows that being a sports fan can bring you. But 2025 brought us something that even you, with that long-standing fandom, have never seen from the New York Jets or from any team.
Yeah, so Joe and I were talking spontaneously about just certain teams and cultures, and it involves the NBA and also the NFL, definitely the NFL, which is a team sport. So last year, the New York Jets did not have an interception by any player on the field the whole season. I'll say it to you again. Not one interception by the Jets players, meaning the team, during the whole season. The last time it happened was 1933. So
They started tracking interceptions in the NFL in 1933, and never, ever, ever has a team gone through an entire season without accidentally recording an interception. A ball gets tipped, quarterback gets sapped, falls into a defensive lineman's lap, whatever. Never before has it happened that a team does not record an interception, and your Jets managed that today.
correct. And so, yeah, even myself, I'm a crazy fan. So I know there's so many lovable Jazz fans, and I'm one of them. Even though I worked for them for many years, is that's the beauty of being a fan, that you suffer. Like you're suffered throughout things. And the good part, though, when you suffer, there's always the ray of hope, and that makes yourself a fan. And that's what in Jazz basketball, there's definitely a ray of hope with the development of Keontae George and all the other young guys that the Jazz have, also Walton Clayton Jr., and it's everyone else in general. But in football right now, because this week's this week is wild card weekend in the NFL, and there's so many amazing matchups. And Sean, I love the 49ers, so do you. And they're going to have a tough get also this weekend. And then the mother of all games is going to be, I'm assuming, the Packers and the Bears.
I looked it up just because I wanted to know. Was there a team in college football this year that didn't record any interceptions? Actually, a Utah Big 12 opponent was dead last in the country in how many interceptions? Only 2 for Cincinnati. But even when you expand, like the NFL's got 32 teams, whatever, even when you expand that to 136 teams, nobody manages, except for the Jets, to fail in getting an interception.
It's almost impossible. And I say, no, nothing's impossible. This is impossible. I can't describe the words right now. Because think about it. In every sport, you want to have defensive, we call them playmakers. So you're in the NFL, you're a D-back or a safety, early eyes. You break to the ball before it happens. You spy the quarterback. In basketball, it's the same thing. You break to the ball. You're around the ball. The guy makes a spin dribble, and you're a nail defensive player, which means what? You're right at the middle of the court. Guy makes a spin dribble. You're right there to pick his pocket. Early ice, coming down the floor. He's looking at a certain guy cutting, and you back up in the coverage, and you have your hands high. Most times when your hands are high, only good things happen.
All right. Because we're off basketball for just a second, and I promise if you're listening, we're going to get back on basketball after we take a break. But the announcement came down yesterday. Ryan Smith, the NHL, the Utah Mammoth, they're bringing the outdoor game, the Winter Classic, to Eccles Stadium. This is the showcase event. Aside from the Stanley Cup playoffs, this is the NHL's premier thing. And in the third year of the franchise's existence, we get that because of the relationship that the Smith family has put together with the NHL, because of the fan support, because of the reputation that this franchise and its players have developed around the NHL. It's going to be amazing. Tell me what it means, Gordie. You've been around pro sports for the longest, and when your city, your team, gets to host one of these events, what does it do?
It really uplifts the whole community, and it connects the NHL with Salt Lake City being a major player in it. And outdoor, there's nothing like it. Sean, I believe they played recently at Fenway Park.
They've done it at Fenway.
Yeah.
They did the one this year was in Miami. They did it in the tropics at the Marlins Stadium. Yeah, they let the Panthers play outdoors, and somehow managed to keep the ice frozen.
And also, what it does is that it's like old school, Sean. It's like the Canadians, Canadians and the Flying Finns, as far as all these incredible athletes that are skaters and scorers in the NHL. It'll be here. It's going to be a happening. Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to it. Sean, I hope you and I can go together.
Let's do it, Gordie. The NBA has played showcase outdoor games. Could something like this be successful in the NBA? There's all these iconic parks. I don't know how you turn a real NBA game into like a Rucker Park event or something like that. But, we've seen college basketball games played on aircraft carriers and things like that. Could the NBA embrace this as like a special event once a year type thing?
Yes, the answer is yes, they could. But it have to be obviously in warmer weather, and they had played some. They played some games outdoors though, Sean, in preseason in Palm Springs.
Yeah, the Indian Wells Tennis Garden.
Exactly right. They have.
They did that. The Phoenix Suns hosted 3 preseason games at Indian Wells in 2008, 2009, 2010. And the WNBA has played 1 outdoor regular season game back in 2008. In 1972, the first NBA outdoor game was a preseason matchup. They did it in Puerto Rico, Phoenix Suns, Milwaukee Bucks. Do you remember that?
I don't know, but I'm sure it happened. So one time I coached in for the Jazz in a summer league game in Portland in an outdoor court. That we played an outdoor game. And that was the game I remember mostly about it. We won the game, and rookie Blue Edwards got into a fight during the game, so it was a mayhem. So our rookie, it was back in 1990, Blue Edwards got into a fight with Dražen Petrovic.
Oh, wow.
Who got into a fight with him, and it was a mayhem, and it was outdoor. It was an outdoor court. It was like a festival in Portland, and so we had to break up a fight that was outdoors.
Now, one of the things that the NHL players seem to embrace and like, and the fans as well, about this game is the conditions are strange, a little bit ugly sometimes. Logan Cooley was up at the press conference yesterday, and he actually said he wanted it to be bad ice. He wanted it to be like rough ice and slushy and things like that, because a lot of these guys came up skating on like less than ideal, your backyard, your pond, your local park, that kind of a thing. And there's nostalgia to it. Now, you wouldn't want to do it every single game, but why not for a game? In the NBA, obviously, an outdoor game would present a lot of those same complications. A little bit of rain on a hardwood floor, disastrous. Too slippery, too crazy. If you're playing on blacktop, maybe not as big of a deal with things like that. So would NBA players, for one game a year, would they embrace the less than ideal conditions? I mean, we've seen all these things where guys are like, Steph Curry dribbles around the floor to make sure there's no dead spots and stuff like that. They're used to perfection. Would they embrace for one day something outside of perfection?
No, because of the players' union.
Sure.
That's the reason why.
Yeah.
And when you're paying Victor Wembanyama $100 million eventually per year, you don't want to have that risk because you're playing on blacktop.
Sure.
So that's the reason why. It'd be highly unlikely as far as a regular season game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Unfortunately. But in NHL, it's all part of it. And the NFL playing outdoors is absolutely playing in cold weather. Buffalo Bills, they do it all the time. Remember, it starts snowing in Buffalo in July.
Actually, the very last event that the PFL did before I became part of the PFL was an outdoor venue, like down in South Florida. And it was so muggy and so rainy that like the canvas was slippery, and it was a massive hazard for guys. This is before the new ownership took over, and the organization became what it is now, the one that I'm working for. And people were like, I mean, it's an apocryphal story. Like the guys that were there, the announcers that were there were just like, it was ridiculous because a little rain on a canvas, fine. A little rain on the plastic logos that cover the canvas, and all of a sudden it's a slip and slide, and you got guys in there trying to fight each other, losing their footing and stuff. So, yeah, I love the outdoor events. I really do. Typical indoor sports being played outdoors, awesome, but it can get crazy. James, you're a St. George guy. We did some fights, some local fights. I was cornering one of my buddies out at what's the reservoir that's out in Washington County?
Sand Hollow.
Yeah. We did some fights out there at Sand Hollow, like on the shore of Sand Hollow.
Probably looked pretty cool. Yeah.
Looked amazing. Now, Sand Hollow is aptly named. There's sand everywhere down there. This beautiful coral-colored sand, right?
Yeah.
That stuff is great until it's windy and it's blowing into a cage and blowing into the eyes of the fight teams. It was windy, and people, legitimately like a windstorm whipping up sand and making the canvas all gritty and stuff. So,
oh, man.
So, look, NHL players, they kind of want it that way because it's already cold and icy and whatever. But In the NBA, I don't think we're going to get it.
Well, and Gordie brings up a good point about NFL too, and football fans love the sloppy once or twice a year, right? Especially the ice bowl type playoff game. Let's do it. NBA, now a little too much perfectionist for that.
I'm actually really fascinated by the higher level you get to in sport, the less willing you are to deal with some of the variables in a lot of cases. Like I believe Gordie when he says, no, the NBA is not going to do that. They're not going to play even a single blacktop game, whatever. I mean, European soccer players look at what goes on in the MLS where guys have to play half their games on turf, and they're like, absolutely not. No shot I would ever play high-level soccer, professional soccer, World Cup soccer on a turf field. Like, to them, it is sacrilegious. Never mind the fact like that, people think that certain injuries are related to certain turf conditions and things like that. But high level guys, they're just like, no, I won't do that. In the NFL, you're starting to hear a lot more of this. Ban the turf fields. Every time someone tears an ACL or hurts an Achilles or whatever, you get 10 former players taking to their Twitter and say, get rid of turf fields. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Make them all grass. And then, of course, when the grass is bad, then they're mad that it's not a turf field. But anyway, it's really interesting how playoff surfaces, playing surfaces matter, except NHL players, for one game, they want to play outdoors, and they want it to be a little bit ugly. Winter Classic is coming to Utah. We got to get back into the NBA discussion. Gordie Chiesa is here. He's got his list still to come. Plenty left to talk about with our resident NBA guru, Gordie. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Aladdin Industries brings us Gordie Chiesa. He's here with us for an hour today. We got about 20 more minutes with Gordie. Then we'll get to the Daily Dump. A wild potpourri of stories, including an NFL conspiracy theory in 19 minutes. I'm very much looking forward to this because it involves my Niners. Gordie, there was a trade yesterday in the NBA, and not an insignificant one. Spence Checketts was joking that for the first time ever, someone listed their preferred trade destination as the Washington Wizards because that's where Trae Young wanted to be, and that's what happened.
Yeah, very much. Yesterday, for the listeners, to reinforce things, that Trae Young, who is an all-star player, drafted by the Atlanta Hawks, his original team, was traded to the Washington Wizards, where he sorted out. And what that does, it gives the Wizards absolutely a scoring point guard that can also assist. And he wants to be there in Washington. And his contract is not modest, but it's certainty. It's this year plus next year. So even if it doesn't work out for the Wizards, is that they know that they only have him for basically a year and 3/4. So that was part of it. And that what makes it so interesting to trade is that they're both teams in the same division. So it's really interesting that both teams in the same division made a trade. The Wizards started out really unbelievable slow. They started out 3-20, and now the last 12 games are 7-5. And so the Wizards is that they've had 7 straight losing seasons. So since from 2018, 2025, they've had a losing seasons. So they know that they've got to try to do something to improve, at least show the fan base that they're getting better. That's part of it. That's the reason why I did that. Now, from the Atlanta Hawks' point of view, it wasn't working out with Trae Young. They had him there. It wasn't his contract. They've been up and down as far as we love him, we don't like him. They moved him on. So now they get C.J. McCollum on a 1-year contract. He makes $30.6 million. He's a 20-point scorer, age 34, 13th season in the NBA. Again, there's certainty that probably he won't be there after this season. So they get his money for next year as far as a do-over. But they did add Corey Kesper, former Gonzaga player, 39.5% from threes. His contract, again, is modest. It's a middle of his contract, 4 years, $54 million. So it's roughly $12, $13 million a year. So it's doable. Now, from the Hawks' point of view, they haven't made the playoffs in 2 years since 2023, and that they have a cast of young talented performers, and they're saying, without saying it, that they want to move on from Trae Young because now their new star player is Jalen Johnson, who's very good, who should be voted the most improved player in the NBA this year, and Dyson Daniels, Zachary Richardson they have, and also they have a lot of other young players, former Jazzmen, Nicole Alexander-Walker. And so they did that because they think that they have other young, talented people that they want to showcase as they go forward. So the trade makes sense for both teams. Now, what about here's some other guys that could be in the trading as far as, and the deadline, remember now, is February 5th. So it's roughly a month from now. Here's some guys that also could be traded. From the Warriors, Jonathan Kuminga. From the Nets, Michael Porter Jr. From the Kings, Zach LaVine. From the Bucks, former Utah player Kyle Kuzma. Playing tonight in Delta Center, Klay Thompson from the Mavs. Nick Clayton from the Nets. Daniel Gafford playing tonight Delta Center from the Mavs. Nikola Vucevic from the Bulls could be traded. Anthony Davis, yes, could be traded to an elite team, possibly. Also, in Jazz basketball, it's possible, Sean, the Jazz are trying to make a trade futurecast out, involving Kyle Anderson, George Niang. Last two names I'm going to mention. Everybody wants Clint Capella. If I'm the Boston Celtics, they've overachieved. There's no Jason Tatum. They have no centers. If I'm the Celtics, I'm trying to get my team Clint Capella, who's on the Houston Rockets right now, playing behind Şengün and playing behind Steven Adams. He hardly plays, but on the Celtics he would play. And the last name is going to be Jeremiah Grant from the Portland Trailblazers. These guys are all in play as far as either moving their contracts or teams want them to come off the bench, and a few guys as far as starting.
Giannis's name is always involved with trade rumors, and he was asked about it. He said, "I will never demand a trade. It's not my nature. I'm not the one in charge." His comments reflect a really interesting, I would say almost refreshing mindset. And he was like, my job is to play basketball. I'm an employee. Do you believe Giannis when he says, "I would never demand a trade"?
No, his agent is, though.
Sure.
Yeah, so Giannis saying the right things. I get it, which I understand, and that he respects the process. But his agent, your job as an agent is to do what's best for my client. Giannis is an elite player. He gets exposed in the playoffs by his lack of shooting, not his scoring. I know he's an average 33 a game. I get it. 11 rebounds. I understand it. And get a lot of assists. But when it's crunch time, Sean, he can't make a foul shot historically, and the defense backs off him and dares him to shoot that shot. Here's Giannis's contract. This year, $54.1 million. Next year, $58.4, $27, $28, $62.7 million. So they've got to find a team or trading partners, teams, to fit his contract in. So it's got to be, you've got to move like other star players to involve. So it's unlikely. Last point about that. In a trading deadline, everybody's talking, but only 1/3 of the teams are actively trading. The week of the NBA draft, in the third week of June, everyone's trying to trade. Everybody's trying to trade up in the draft, which involves players presently on your roster. And then July 1st, the trade could be as far as go through actively after that. So right now, it's only 1/3 of teams are trying to trade.
In general, did you, I don't know, like is such a simple word for it, but did you like in-season trades when you were coaching?
No, I don't, because it really uproots you as far as the player, but also as far as your team. Is that, generally speaking, the better teams don't make in-season trades. They don't. They might add a player where a guy's last year of his contract and he has a buyout option, and the agent is very powerful, and suddenly that team has a roster spot purposely. And so that's the reason why that teams do that, where they wait. The better teams wait until somebody has an opening roster spot. So, example, here's some of the teams right now, Sean, have an open roster spot, and most of them are playoff teams. Atlanta, Boston, Cleveland, Miami, New York, Orlando, Philadelphia, Toronto in the East. In the West, Denver, Houston, Clippers, Lakers, Minnesota, and Phoenix. Meaning what? That those teams have an open roster spot, only 14 under contract, because they know that somebody might be out there. They're looking at certain players the last year of their contract and that are out there. So, for example, it's possible, Sean, that C.J. McCollum got traded yesterday to Atlanta Hawks, but his last year of his contract's up, and that his agent might ask them, the Atlanta Hawks, please have a buyout of my client because he can get a better deal by a team that needs a point guard dramatically because someone just got hurt this last month. So in the NBA, Sean, there's so many moving parts.
I can't imagine how difficult it is to monitor who's available, who you want to be available, your own roster. I guess that's why the GMs make the big bucks.
And also, but more importantly, besides that, is that it's the pro personnel people, that their sole job is to monitor that and be ahead of the game. As I always say, don't tell me when someone's good after they're good. Tell me why a guy's going to be good on your team. And the reason why is that it's a fit. Often players are on the wrong team. So Corey Kispert, for example, from Gonzaga, he's a good shooter, that he's limited as far as his ball skills, but if you give him a screen, he can make an open jump shot. And defensively, even though he's a half step slow, he does try to compete. And so on a team that executes as far as offensively, he's a better fit. And with the Atlanta Hawks, they try to execute. The Atlanta Hawks, for example, Sean, are first in the NBA in assist. So that tells you they move the ball. And in Jazz basketball, the Jazz are second in assist in the NBA. Can you imagine if the Jazz can correct some of those turnovers, because the Jazz players are pass happy, led by Keontae George and the backup guard as far as Isaiah Collier. So the Jazz are pointing in the right direction. They've got to correct it as far as what they're trying to do. Here's the last point about trades. Remember, these human beings. So everyone out there saying, I don't feel sorry. When a guy makes $30 million a year, I don't feel sorry for him. I wish I could be traded and make $30 million. However, here's what happens, is that these human beings, so now here's the question that all NBA players ask. Will I fit in? Yeah. Where do I live, Sean? I live in a hotel half a year on the road. Now I'm going from Atlanta to Washington, D.C. I'm going to live in a hotel now. My young children, my second grader and my first grader now are going to be behind right now. I'm going to miss them, and now different things. Also, I'm leaving some really good friends on this team who'll be my new best friend on the new team, and that's why it's so important, leadership. So we always talk about when we did make a few in-season trades, the leaders step up, and make the people that you traded to your team, make them feel what? Comfortable and at home.
What's the list today, Gordie?
My list today, Sean, there's so much talk about people sitting out. Sean, this list is a powerful list of players that play consecutive games. The all-time list. Here we go.
Oh, wow.
Baker's dozen of NBA players with the most consecutive games played. Most consecutive games played. Baker's dozen, which we know means what? 13. Because I know, Sean, you love a dozen plus one having a crawler on the side. I know that. You love that. All these guys are Iron Men. What are some attributes of consecutive games played? Strong physicality. 2, mentally focused. 3, they're team-driven. Oh, they're not feeling well with it, but it's possibly a sickness, but they drive through it. 4, they make more gravity plays than airborne. And Sean, you and I talked about it earlier today about players adjusting. They play more games on the ground than in the air. And the last point about this is luck. You've got to be lucky as far as not having a major injury during the streak. Here we go. Number 13 all time, most consecutive games played. Ironically, Sean, right now he's a sports agent. B.J. Armstrong played in 577 games. Number 12, former Jazz man. I coached this guy for half a season. James Donaldson played in 586 consecutive games. Number 11, he plays right now in the NBA. He's never missed an NBA game in 8 seasons right now. He plays for the New York Knicks right now. Mikal Bridges, 11th all-time, most games ever played consecutively with 592. Number 9, Jack Twyman and John Stockton. They both played in 609 straight games. And with John Stockton, he only missed 22 games in a brilliant 19-year career. So 609. Number 8, this is Sean. This is most underrated of all of them. Former Utes Andre Miller is 8th all-time in most consecutive games played. Wow. Andre played in 632 games. And think about his games, Sean. It was on the ground. He was a gravity player. Number 7, his nickname was the Horse, Harry the Horse Gallatin. He played with Knickerbockers in the 1950s and 60s. He played in 682 games. Number 6, this man always was fighting in a game. He always was a nemesis both on his team and the opposition. Bill Laimbeer is 6th all-time. He played in 685 consecutive games. Number 5, Dolph Schayes, 706. Number 4, last night's Jazz game against the Thunder, he was the analyst of the Thunder, Michael Cage, played in 736 consecutive games. Number 3, this guy was a former teammate of Jerry Sloan with the Washington, at that time, Bullets. When Jerry Sloan was a rookie, this guy was his last year in the NBA. Johnny Red Kerr played in 844 games. Also, he was the first ever coach of the Phoenix Suns, the expansion team. Number 2, all-time, Randy Smith. He played for the Buffalo Braves. We came also the L.A. Clippers. He played in 906 games, and the number 1 player of all time to play in consecutive NBA games is A.C. Green with 1,192. Quick note, what about Ron Boone, the Jazz analyst presently right now? He's a friend of all of ours. Ron Boone had a streak of 1,041 consecutive games, including 662 in the ABA and 379 games in the NBA.
Wow.
That's my list. But, Sean, here's the last one, baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Cal Ripken.
This is one of those sports records that's never going to be broken.
Right. It'll never be broken. They say, what are you talking about? Here's the metrics. Cal Ripken played in 2,632 consecutive baseball games. Let's put it from a calendar. From May 30th, 1982 through September 19th, 1998, he played in 2,632 consecutive games. So A.C. Green and Cal Ripken, and in football, Sean, it's basically, in football, as far as positional right now, it's Brent Favre.
There's a bunch of specialists.
A punter.
Yeah. There's a couple of long snappers, actually active long snappers that are top 5. Brett Favre played in 299 games. And Jim Marshall, one of the members of the Purple People Eaters, he played 282 games straight. That is insane for a quarterback, obviously, and for a defensive lineman to get 282. That's pretty wild.
Absolutely. And just think about basketball also, Sean, the wear and tear on your body. So many games in the NBA. So with A.C. Green doing that with 1,192. And again, John Stockton. So mention about John. So even though John had so many different streaks going for him, but he only missed 22 games in 19 seasons. So which meant that 17 times during his career, he played in every single game in the season. And he was a two-way player. And this might never happen again as far as that. So Mikal Bridges presently, he's the right now the guy. He's played in 592 consecutive games for both the Phoenix Suns and the New York Knicks, and he's never and also the Brooklyn Nets. He's never missed a game so far. Impressive. Sean, how about you? Your career, you've never missed a broadcast so far. I love it. and also James Peterson. James Peterson had never missed a broadcast in his illustrious career here on ESPN 700. I myself, I'm a slacker. I miss often games.
That's not true, Gordie. Gordie's a man. Love talking to you. Thank you for the basketball education once again. Thanks for coming into studio as well.
Thanks, Sean. Peace out.
That's Gordie Chiesa. Up next is the Daily Dump, brought to you by Valley Plumbing. Look for the truck with the duck.